Hey gamers, welcome back to the channel. Today I want to jump back into 7 Deadly Sins. We had an update just the other day, and I think one of the biggest questions coming out of that update is we get a free SSR Selector, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. The game's been out for a few weeks now, and they're just rewarding us with a Selector. Now you can get anybody in the base pull, in the base banner, except for Meliodas, obviously, because he's a pickup, not a base. So we're going to talk about that. Also going to touch on a couple of the updates that I think are pretty cool. I'm really enjoying the game. Hopefully you are too. We got some cool things to talk about, so let's get into it. All right, and welcome back. Really quick, before we jump into the few updates that I want to cover, specifically that SSR Selector, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. I just want to say thank you to all of you who've been watching these videos, the 7 Deadly Sins one specifically, because this is something a little newer for me as far as an open world game. I appreciate the thumbs up, the likes, the shares, the comments, the subscribes. It's really cool, and I really do appreciate the support. I have been really enjoying this game, and just kind of level set. I am approaching this originally as a free-to-play player. I wanted to make sure to get through the whole campaign and even beyond by being a free-to-play player. I am going to spend a little bit. I'll go over that here in just a little bit as well, just so you all kind of know where my frame of mind is. I'm never going to be a whale in this game. I'm going to be sitting back. I'm going to be enjoying the story. I'm going to be working through the world, upgrading my characters, and just casually running through it. Not like so casual that I'm not making progress quickly, but going through it at an easy pace, because I really just do enjoy what I'm experiencing in this game. I think the devs have done a great job. So again, thank you for the support. I truly appreciate it. Let's get into what I want to talk about. First, I'm not really rushing to like hell and everything like I was mentioning, right? But I think when we talk about the update, there's some very cool things that they added. They added an Abyss challenge. So for those of you who are already at the end game, specifically talking about maxing out all the difficulties, you're in hell, you're on world level 4, all that stuff, we now have this new Abyss challenge. I'm going to go into the boss challenge over here. This guy specifically, I wish I could click on it so I could see the requirements and the rewards for it, unless there's somewhere else in here. But yeah, we now have this new mode, this Abyss, which I think is great. They're going to have that added to additional boss challenges as well, which I think is awesome. Just another way for us to continue to challenge our teams and get better gear, so that we can prepare for whatever new content is coming our way, right? So I think this was a good addition. The other one is we've got this Hawk Pass, which I think is great. And this is where I'm going to probably start spending a little money. Typically in games, if they offer, and most games offer a battle pass, this is a Hawk Pass, whatever the pass is called in that game, whatever fits the aesthetic, right? Typically is a really good deal. So this is $10, so you can get some good resources here. You get some good resources through the pass as well, but you can pay 20 to get 20 additional levels to start off. Typically, I don't do that because I'm usually active enough to complete the pass before the pass ends, and we've got 31 days and 15 hours left on this one. But you get some really good resources. So even as a free-to-play player, I think you get some decent resources here. But if you're looking to spend just a little bit of money, I always suggest that you put it towards whatever battle pass there is, because you get a lot of great resources. That's just going to help you build up your team a little bit quicker, move through the content a little bit easier, and you run into those walls just a little bit less. So I do like the addition of this, so I will be eventually purchasing that before the 31 days is up. I'm just going to work through the levels as a free-to-play for a little bit first. All right. So I think those are cool. We got some really cool updates there. I can't wait to see what other content is coming to the game and how they expand the story. Because again, the story's been really cool. This is probably the first game that I've ever played where I just have truly paid attention to the story. Let's get to the main event, which is the SSR Selector. Let's see, where are you? You're right here. So this SSR Selector, I think this was really cool. Just a little bit of a reward from the devs. Allows you to choose from some base heroes, right? Obviously not Meliodas, obviously not Daisy, since Daisy just became the new pickup. But these are the heroes that you get. Right off the bat, I say no to Gila. You get her for free anyway. Right off the bat, I say no to Drake. I think Drake, I don't have Drake, but the feedback that I've been hearing about him is kind of eh. So that leaves some really good characters. Manny and Deanne. You got King and Elaine. And then obviously Jericho. I think of these characters, and it really depends on who you have in your roster and the teams that you're building. In my opinion, for me, there's only three choices. Elaine, Jericho, or Deanne. Now, I already have Deanne, so now it's going to be either Elaine or Jericho. And for me, it's going to be Jericho. Now, the reason for these three is because all three of them help build your burst gauge. And in this game, in the teams that we're creating, it's all about building your burst gauge to maximize your damage. And if you have Meliodas, you have to use somebody else to build that burst gauge so that Meliodas can then come in, corrupt that burst gauge with darkness, and then do all the massive damage that he does. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead. We're going to move on over to we're going to go to Genshin.gg. We're going to take a look at some of these. We're going to take a look at the characters that I suggest there. I think if you have all those characters, the other choice then would be Manny. Honestly, for me, I think King would be last. So again, really depends on who you have in your roster right now. All right, let's go on over to Genshin.gg, take a look at some of these characters. All right, here we are. Let's start with Deanne. For me, I think for her, when we talk about weapons, and I already put a video out on it. If you haven't seen it, I'll put a link up to it right over here. I highly suggest the gauntlets, especially when you're talking about building up your burst gauge quickly. I do like this Cheerful Girl outfit. I am working through her different outfits here. I'm going to switch this to gauntlets right here. This right here, Cheerful Girl, using the ultimate move restores HP equal to a certain percentage of her max HP. Each time shadow resistance boost is gained within 15 seconds. So you got some HP healing there. So the difference between the gauntlets and the nunchucks, what, cudgel? They're calling it a cudgel. I call them nunchucks. The gauntlet is... That's the one that you want to build up your burst gauge very, very quickly. And it's going back and forth between her skills. But this one here, this combination kick does some damage, but each hit additionally increases the burst gauge by 30 when heavy metal is active. You've got this martial drive as well. But the gauntlets really help build up that burst gauge very, very quickly. If you don't have her, you're probably using Tristan. I think as a burst builder, Tristan does a good job. But Deanne is just so much better. So when I have Deanne in gauntlets, typically I'm just swapping back and forth between Meliodas and Deanne because she's building that burst gauge so quick. Meliodas comes in, does all the damage. The cudgel, the nunchucks here, the reason for using that, and I do use that from time to time when I'm challenging content or I'm going into content that I'm just not as familiar with, because you get quite a bit of healing, a lot of healing in my opinion, from this weapon. But you do not build your burst gauge up very quickly at all. So then what I have to do is I have to rely on Tristan, who does not build as quickly as Deanne Gauntlets does. But what I'm going to be doing with the SSR Selector is I'm going to be getting Jericho, who's going to help me with that. All right, so that's Deanne. I think she's a great choice. If you already have her, my next suggestion would be Jericho here. Look at this. Each defense boost increases barrier efficiency, which I think is great with this cold armor here. You got some cold damage up over here. This one here, each attack increases the burst gauge by 20, 25, 30, and decreases cold burst resistance. This one here, I really like as well. Can't wait to get her on my team. If we take a look at her skills here, let's see, where is it? Right here. Inflict damage equal to 101% of attack. The final strike additionally increases the burst gauge by 300 while Frozen Saber is active. That's insane. That's with dual swords right there. I think that's awesome. So, again, burst building, I think she's going to do a great job. I don't have her, so I don't know how well she does with damage, so I'm very interested, those of you who do have her, what kind of damage that she's got pulling in. She's got the lance here. When I go through the lance, it doesn't really, I don't see much here. It's mostly barrier and freeze and stuff like that with the lance. I don't see the burst building here. And then if we do the rapier, let's see. I don't think I see anything in here anyway. We got some high crit. So we got more damage here than anything else. But if you're looking for a burst builder, it's going to be her, it looks like, with these dual swords. And that's who I'm going to be going with. And then working quickly to get this ice sculptor, again, to increase that burst gauge. All right. After her, I would then suggest Deanne. If we take a look at Deanne here, look at this. Activating a burst restores the magic gauge by a certain amount and increases all allied heroes' tag skill damage. I think that is great as well. Let's see, burst gauge here as well. 20% chance with this outfit to restore tag gauge by a certain amount, or 80% chance to increase the enemy's burst gauge by 200, 250, and 300 when using the tag scale. So again, burst builder with her as well. I didn't have much of a chance to run through this here really quick, but as far as as far as the weapons here, it looks like this here. Let's see, increases the hero's all elemental burst efficiency by 20%. Restores 2 magic points when activating a burst. So you got some burst synergy there. Decrease nearby allies' damage taken by 15%, and enemies all elemental burst resistance by 25% for 20 seconds with her ultimate move. I think that's awesome. I think that's probably going to be it, right? It's going to be the weapon there. Let's see, just taking a look at this one here really quick. Yeah, it looks like that's going to be the one if you're looking for a burst builder. But she's got a lot of benefits and synergies with Earth. If you're looking at building an Earth team, so I think there's a lot of benefits with these characters here. So again, in my opinion, for me, I'm going with Jericho. If you don't have Deanne, I'd go for Deanne. To be honest, I think she's going to work in a lot of teams and give you quite a bit of benefit, especially with the variety in gameplay you get between the gauntlets and the cudgel, the nunchucks. For me, I'll be going for Jericho. If you already got those characters, then Elaine, I think, is great. If you've got everybody there, I think Manny then would be your fourth choice. Those are my thoughts. Very curious. What do you think about this SSR Selector? Obviously, it's a really good thing, but I'm curious. First off, what do you think about the game so far and what you're experiencing? And second, who are you selecting in this SSR Selector? All right, everybody, that's what I had for you. As always, I want to thank you all for taking the time to watch the video. If you liked it, make sure to hit that like button and share your thoughts and questions in the comments section below. Take care, everybody, and we'll talk to you next time.